Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about a very serious subject, something very important. We're going to try to attempt to answer the question, if God made humans, then why do men have nipples? I've actually had this question posed to me before, and the idea is that if God is this great designer, and if God made humans, then why do men have these useless nipples? Because men don't breastfeed, they can't breastfeed, so they look like what you would call a vestigial structure. Okay, so it's this leftover remnant from the evolutionary process where we have these mammary glands, but we don't have the right hormones to activate them, and we don't need them, but they aren't in the way, so we haven't evolved out of them. And so that's the idea, is that a good designer would not put these useless body parts on us. Okay, and so I want to take a look at that. So real quick, I'd like to just take a moment and flesh out my opinions on this. There are a bunch of different viewpoints in Christianity. So I'm what you would call an old Earth Creationist. That means that I believe that the creation days in Genesis, the word for day is yom, which can be translated as a piece of a day, like the daylight portion of a day, a 24-hour day, or a long but finite period of time. So that means it is a long time, like an epoch or an era, but it's not an indefinite time. And so there's a bunch of reasons I translate this way. Some people accuse old Earth creationists of just following the science regardless of what the Bible says, but that is actually not true whatsoever, at least in my case. A lot of the reasons I have for believing this are biblical, though the science supports my view the best, I think. So no offense to anyone who doesn't hold this position. I think you can be a good Christian whether you believe it's literal 24-hour days, whether you believe it's like me, like each day is an era or an age, or whether you believe like St. Augustine, that each day was instant. So he thought, God didn't need all that time to create all the stuff. So I think, there are a multitude of views that you can have on this issue. My reasons for believing this are that, for one thing, Creation Day 7 never ended. Another thing, it's clearly poetic in its nature, in that every day there's evening and there was morning. So why does it start with evening? And many other reasons. But those are two, I think, just because you can translate it literally, being an age or an era. So, and it does fit the science, but the Bible seems to indicate that, and that the seventh day, we're still in it. Or at least it never indicates when it ends, right? And so I think that's one of my major reasons. So anyway, not getting too far off topic, there is such a thing as evolution. Christians who believe in evolution, and so they believe that there's evolution and that God is involved in that process from all the way from barely at all, where he just front loads the system and everything falls forward in place because he's such a powerful God that he can do that. And then there are people that believe all the way to the other side of the gamut and everything in between, that God has intervened, meticulously throughout it. And I think that's actually, I think, to be honest, I believe in evolution, but not macroevolution. I believe in microevolution, where we can have things like speciation. So when you have the birds that go on the island and they can evolve a different kind of beak slowly by, natural selection. I believe in that. But to create and take an animal like a wolf and have it evolve into a whale, I just, I don't think the evidence supports it. And so there's probably a lot of scientists out there that would probably scream at me for that, but I just don't. I just cannot believe it. And it's not just based off of ignorance. I'm not a scientist, but I do look into this stuff and I do research it, and I think there are a lot of problems with the evolutionary paradigm. But with that being said, if evolution is the way, and God proves, tells me, Jeremy, you were wrong, when I get to heaven, I'm fine with that. I don't die on that hill. I'm not going to sit there and tell every Christian that believes in evolution, like, no. Because, to me, it isn't that important. However God did it, I'm sure whatever he did was interesting, and I would love to figure it out. And, I think God gave us science so that we could. Now, like I said, if I end up being wrong at the end of the day, that's just fine. But I don't think evolution could just go on its own. And I could do an entire, people write volumes on this subject. So I'm not going to get into it all. Maybe I'll touch on different things here and there. But the main thing is that if there is evolution involved, I believe God had a heavy hand in it. So I'm not discounting that, but here are some reasons why men would have nipples even though they don't breastfeed, okay? So number one, I'm going to look at it from an artist's point of view, right? Because I'm an artist, and that's what this channel is about. I'm trying to look at things from an artistic point of view and bridge that gap between conservatives and Christians and artists, right? So for the artists, I want to give that Christian conservative point of view on topics, and for Christians and conservatives, I want to give that artistic point of view. Not that these things can't overlap, but they tend to fly in the face of each other in our modern culture in America. So here's the deal. Whenever one of the things we have to realize is that God is the very first artist, okay? He created everything that we see, and there are many things that are beautiful that didn't have to be beautiful. And so I would say that not everything God does has to have a purely functional reason to be. I think probably it has. I think God, just from what I've seen in life and my personal opinion, now I don't know that I can support this biblically, but in my personal opinion, God doesn't ever do anything for just one reason. I think he probably has many, many reasons for everything that he does. He's not like us. His mind is much more powerful. He knows much more. He knows much more about all the circumstances and information and variables than we do. And he's got a mind that can process all that and make decisions that have probably thousands and thousands of impacts just off of one decision that he is fully sovereign over and in control of. And so I would say, just from an artistic point of view, if we have this blank chest with nothing on it, that's a lot of space that is uninterrupted, and there's not enough variety. And variety is a really important artistic principle. Okay, so that texture and those shapes actually break up that blank space of the chest and give us some variety in there. Now, what they also do is they give us unity. Okay, so God is a being that exists outside of time and space, and so he knew when he made Adam that he was also going to create Eve. And so no matter what you believe, we know that God is outside time and space, and that he's fully aware of what he's going to do before he does. He's not like us. He's not constrained by time and these temporal experiences. And so when he made Adam, he made a matching set with Eve. And you can look at designers and other artists in different industries and different ways that do that. So as an artist, a lot of my stuff has a particular style, and I like to recreate different things and reuse them and tie my pieces together in certain ways. And, you see this in the automotive industry. So you could just take Dodge, for instance, back when that used to be a company. I think now the company split or something. I don't really keep up with it. I'm not really a huge fan of Dodges. I've never owned one. But If you remember when they came out with that Dodge pickup with that big elaborate grill on the front that was very bold and in your face, it was supposed to kind of mimic the design of an 18-wheeler. Okay, well, it's a big truck. Maybe it needs all that air intake coming in for that motor, and it's got that big truck look because it is a truck, and so they're mimicking those big rigs and tractor trailers, and all their cars started adopting that big grill, even though the car doesn't necessarily need to look like a truck. That has no function whatsoever. But to maintain that brand and that aesthetic throughout the lineup, they mimic that grill throughout. And I think God, as a designer, did that exact same thing with men. Okay, so that's the first reason. Is that, I would say, number one, maybe the evolutionists are right, as long as God had a hand in it. Maybe these structures are, maybe you choose to believe they are, just left over from our process. And all humans start off as women in the womb to an extent, right? So we start off with that same blank, and then the process takes over to manufacture us into male and female. And, we develop our nipples before we are born, before we are started being bombarded with all these different hormones and all these different processes that begin to transform us into these distinct, different creations. Okay? But, that's not my line of reasoning. Now, like I said, I don't believe God does anything for just one reason. I think another reason, and that is that they are pacifiers. Okay? So we weren't born with plastic manufacturing companies, big industry, the Industrial Revolution. That wasn't something we were created with. For the vast majority of our history as humans, we have not had that kind of facilities to have things like, realistic or suitable pacifiers for babies. Now, they dealt with this over the years with different means. But, inborn, men have two pacifiers. If one gets dirty, you can switch to the other one. And the reason I say this is because there's a tribe in Africa called the Aka people. And they actually do that. They nurse their babies even though they don't produce milk, right? Men do not have those kind of hormones, and they're not able to produce milk. But they do it just for the comfort of the baby. Okay, and that's a bonding thing with them and their children. It's not my personal thing. I guess, it's the way I was raised, my cultural difference. I personally wouldn't want to do that. But, I don't knock them for doing it. Probably they're closer to what God designed, his design ideas, than we are. Okay, now women are much more nurturing than men usually, just as a general rule. And, you may not like that, but it's true. And but men vary. Okay, and so I think this is an important thing that men need to realize, is that just because you have some feminine qualities doesn't mean you need to question your masculinity. You may just be a man with certain qualities that are slightly more feminine than other men, or less so, and women with more masculine qualities than other women, or less so. And, I think we're a mixture. And, men and women are predominantly one or the other. I believe God, that he invented females. And so these are things that probably flow from his nature. He is very loving. He is very masculine. You see that in the Bible, but you also see his loving side too, where he takes care of us even though we are disgusting and we do not treat him with the reverence and the respect that he is due. He is so worthy of worship, and he's just beyond our reckoning. Yet we don't treat him that way. But yet he still was willing to sacrifice himself for us on the cross, his son Jesus, and pay for our sins and pay for our debt so that we could be reconciled with him. And that is a very loving and nurturing thing to do. Okay. Now, so I think, it could be, evolution could be the answer to how God did things. There are some very good design principles of why you would want men to have nipples. And then also pacifiers. And then fourth, if you are underage, cover your ears. Around 50% of males actually report that that's a center of pleasure for them for adult relations, if you will. So that's a thing that is part of our design. So we are matching set with women, but that can also be a pleasure center. Say, no, we can uncover our ears now. So that's some food for thought. Those are just 4 reasons. Maybe you can think of some more. Leave them down in the comments if you think so. If you're not too ashamed or embarrassed, or you're brave enough to enter this ridiculous conversation. So now that we've touched on that really important topic, maybe we can get to some other things. But this is the kind of thing I want to talk about, not nipples, but artistic point of view from a conservative Christian artist. All right, that's it. Until next time.
Please consider liking this video or subscribing to this channel in order to help me in this endeavor.